Meet our new protagonist, a one-of-a-kind legend who doesn't waste time punching trees. Instead, this unstoppable force crushes everything in its path. While most people are busy binge-watching anime or gaming, this absolute champion has fully embraced the wisdom of Master Yuji. If there's a hole, there's a goal, and he's living it to the fullest at the moment. Our hero is deep into a game, pounding rice cakes with a girl named Huna. But don't underestimate her. She's far from ordinary. After completely dominating Huna, he somehow convinced her to prepare a feast just for him. That's pure Chad behavior. Now, with all his energy spent, he grabs a spoon and goes full mukbang, devouring the meal like his favorite food YouTuber. The food didn't stand a chance. After finishing the feast solo, he turns to Huna with a grin and casually whispers, asking if she'd like to play GTA 6 with him. Clearly, he's gearing up for another round of his rice cake punching adventures. The two dive into the game, with our hero gripping the controller like his life depends on it, praying he doesn't self-destruct mid-match. But then, bam, a message from someone's mom pops up, and his confidence vanishes in an instant. Fast forward to the next morning, and we find out our guy had quite the night, dealing with rice cakes on 2 different difficulty levels. Now, he's up at the crack of dawn, ready to hit the gym like a true Chad. Just as things seem to be getting back to normal, he suddenly appears, obliterating a sack of rice as if channeling All Might. The weirdest part? He named the rice sack Elizabeth. Unfortunately for him, this Elizabeth isn't turning into the character from 7 Deadly Sins. Instead, the only thing his banana plantation is connecting to is a pile of feathers. Turns out, our rice sack enthusiast has officially broken the 9,000 power level. Word has it he's been honing his gaming reflexes on pillows for nearly 10,000 rounds. So yeah, you could say he's a master gamer with zero shame. Maybe that's why he's an absolute Chad, and not because of the sword he's been carrying around. But then, during his legendary 1000th attempt, disaster strikes. His pillow-shaped rice sack finally gives out, probably crushed under the weight of his past exploits. Maybe this was Elizabeth's grand escape plan all along. At this point, I thought our guy might spiral into despair. But no. Instead, he starts monologuing to the rice as if he's just scaled the peak of Mount Everest. But Elizabeth's had enough. She calls for backup, cotton rice, since Johan's truck was on another mission. The result? Our boy doesn't slip on a bar of soap, but on a few loose grains of rice. And in that moment, he has an epiphany. Never, ever disrespect rice. But it's too late. Gravity wins, and he crashes to the floor. Against all odds, he wakes up seemingly unharmed. But something's off. A strange glow flickers behind him. He turns and finds, yep, you guessed it, a full-blown anime portal. And, as any self-respecting protagonist knows, if a mysterious portal appears, you've got to step in. There's just one problem. A warning echoes in the air. This is a portal to another world. Once you enter, there's no turning back. But as the words repeat, a chill runs down his spine. The voice sounds exactly like his own. Just when things were getting interesting, AR Bro changes the game. Instead of stepping into the mysterious portal, he ignores it and decides to check Tinder. After all, he's still got real-life targets to take down today. A sigh of relief escapes him as he confirms he's still on Earth, with a fresh list of matches waiting for his attention. Everything seems normal until he closes the app and sees a chilling message from Huna. Her warning is brief but urgent. Don't go home. Hide immediately, or you'll miss the Drake concert. Before he can process what this means, a deep voice echoes from outside his door, and so we learn our guy's real name, Taeyang. The knocking grows louder, the voice more aggressive. Taeyang assumes it's just a hardcore K-pop fan mistaking him for Taeyong from Big Bang. Curiosity gets the better of him and he moves to check. But as his fingers touch the doorknob, bam, an axe tears through the door, missing his head by mere centimeters and nearly giving him the most modern haircut of his life. On the other side of the shattered wood stands a furious older man, looking like a battle-hardened version of Avatar. His eyes blaze with rage as he snarls his identity, Huna's husband, and he's just discovered all of Taeyang's recent activities. Honestly, I think the real Chad here is this Avatar lookalike. No hesitation, no nonsense. Just pure, unfiltered rage and a readiness to send his enemies straight to the afterlife with some classic blood-bending techniques. We've got to respect the commitment to the cause. Anyway, our guy doesn't even blink as he chases down an unarmored dude. You could say he's a man of principles, no matter what. But now that Taeyang's been exposed for spending too much time playing intergalactic rice cake in other people's files, he realizes there's only one way out. The portal time is running out, as the makeshift barricades he set up are being demolished by the Avatar's absurd skill set. At this rate, it's a countdown to either diving into the unknown or meeting a very painful end. Just when things couldn't get worse, the Avatar pauses his rampage to demand one crucial detail: exactly how many times Taeyang invaded Huna's rice cakes. Honestly, I wouldn't have asked, but plot twist. Taeyang's also dating the Avatar's daughter. Trying to save himself, Taeyang pulls the classic "it was Popo" excuse, but it only makes things worse. The Avatar's fury skyrockets as he unleashes a monstrous airbending shockwave, shaking the entire room. Taeyang barely has time to process his impending doom before the last layer of his defenses starts to crack. One more hit, and the Avatar will break through. Now, Taeyang has two choices: jump into the mysterious portal and risk whatever insanity lies beyond. Stay behind, go out in a blaze of glory, and make one last stand inside Elizabeth. The rice sack, it's a tough call, especially for a guy who's the ultimate sassy bucket. In the end, Taeyang decides to embrace his legacy and give Elizabeth one last moment of appreciation. But just as he prepares to make his final stand, something changes. The portal seems to react, pulling him in with an invisible force, and in that exact moment, the last door disintegrates, revealing the Avatar now channeling full firebending fury, advancing like the Grim Reaper himself. The Grim Reaper stops, locking eyes with Taeyang in an intense showdown. His voice booms with a single demand: reveal your banana tree immediately, so I can cut it down. But in a twist worthy of the Mighty Ducks, the tables turn once again. Taeyang, ever the wild card, makes the ultimate power move. He walks straight up to the Avatar and, without a hint of fear, boldly proclaims that his wife and daughter had the best rice cakes of all time, calling them so tight and right. For a fleeting moment, it seems Taeyang might actually talk his way out of this disaster. But then, nope. Panic takes over, and he leaps straight into the portal, leaving the Avatar behind in a fury so intense it could vaporize mountains. The moment he lands, Taeyang finds himself inside a colossal castle, still unarmored, still completely lost. As he stumbles through the majestic halls, the sound of approaching voices sends him into full panic mode. Thinking fast, he hides in the shadows, trying to make sense of his situation. That's when he hears something strange. The guards casually chatting about whether a torch has run out of mana. Magic exists in this world? Taeyang's mind races, barely able to process this revelation. But before he can reflect on it, a faint rustling catches his attention from a nearby room. Peeking inside, he spots someone tossing and turning in bed. Curious but cautious, he stays hidden and listens as the guards continue talking. They're praising someone named Verdia, who apparently sleeps nearby. Taeyang, putting two and two together and somehow arriving at three, jumps to the worst possible conclusion. Verdia is the man these guards are admiring. A chill runs down his spine as his mind spirals into panic. His worst nightmare unfolds before him. He's been teleported to a world without women. His heart nearly stops, but just as despair sets in, a familiar scent wafts through the air. One he's always associated with women. His heart restarts instantly, and hope surges within him. Driven by his love for Detective Pikachu, Taeyang sets out to investigate. His confidence and banana plantation quickly return to king-sized proportions. Finally, his eyes land on a stunning girl. His first thought, that must be Verdia. Taeyang, ever the curious hunter, decides to inspect Verdia more closely, making sure she's not hiding any swords where he least expects them. But instead of finding weapons, he's awestruck by the sight of Verdia at her peak, an S-tier woman who could even give his own little rookie a run for her money. Despite the dazzling sight, Taeyang remembers there's another guy in the room, presumably the king, and wonders why the two are sleeping in separate beds if he's the ruler. Unable to resist, Taeyang approaches Verdia, even though it could very well send him 6 feet under if the king wakes up. Seizing the golden opportunity before him, he transforms into his French alter ego, ready to devour the feast in front of him. And so, our MC begins his siege on the sleeping Verdia, banging on her gates with a force they've never experienced before. But Taiyang gets sad when Verdia doesn't wake up from his entrance, despite his efforts. An hour later, Taiyang's operating at 90% capacity, but neither Verdia nor the king has moved. However, even in her sleep, Verdia instinctively reacts to his relentless assault. Eventually, her system reboots and she murmurs, wondering why her husband is being unusually attentive today. A few moments later, Verdia fully regains consciousness, but instead of being scared, she seems to be enjoying the situation. She warns Taiyang to slow down, as getting caught wouldn't just mean losing his trio, it would cost him his head. But, as expected, Taiyang had no intention of canceling the siege. He kept going until dawn, miraculously avoiding detection as the king remained deep in slumber. However, the relentless battle is abruptly interrupted when the sound of shattering glass echoes through the room, scattering shards like a scene straight out of Splatoon 2. A maid had arrived to serve the royal breakfast and, unintentionally, walked into the middle of the not-so-ceremonial cake-smashing session. To this point, Taiyang realizes he's completely doomed in more ways than one. But if he's going down, at least it'll be in a grand exit in this unknown world.